So, you want to start playing Flesh and Blood. Well, something that I think goes a little bit undervalued is the amount of resources that Fabtcg offers, right? So starting off, again, you want to go to fabtcg.com, you want to scroll down, and then you just want to click on welcome, because to be honest, this is the best starting point for any new player, okay? We have learned to play, but if you don't want to read, well, you can just go with a print and play welcome deck, right? How awesome is that? You can find these really easy to use decks, right? They're not blitz, they're not classic constructed, they're just very streamlined, very simplistic decks for you to print, for you to play, find someone else, rope them in, and just have a go at the game. See if you like it, see if you can start to understand the mechanics, and then you go to the next step, right? So we have a IRA welcome deck. You have your weapon, so you can play around with it. You don't have any equipment, so you're not bogged down just yet. And you have a reduced deck for you to just trial the game with. But there are a few more other assets, which are not quite here, that are also pretty useful, right? If you go to retails, if you go to marketing assets, you will find playmat components, okay? Again, you are free to print these, right? You can find the 2-player FaB Classic. You know, you'll need a decent sized piece of paper, A3 probably, but you could print on it. And then you have all the board pieces you want. Otherwise, just go with the FaB Classic, chuck an A4 piece of paper in the printer, and print 2 of them, right? And you can utilize this so that you can learn the placement of cards along with that welcome deck. But, okay, so you've done that now, right? You've tried the game, you've printed out these printable cards and had a go at it, right? Read through them, learnt the mini nuances of pitching, attacking, blocking. Where do you go next? Well, a lot of people will generally say this, go get yourself a blitz deck. The latest batch to be released are the History Pack 1 blitz decks, right? So you can find them singles, or you can get a whole set if you want, but overall they are really cheap, okay? And they offer you a nice 40 card deck for you to, again, take the little step up from the IRA welcome deck and start experiencing a multitude of classes and a perfect starting point for play. If you're feeling like it, you could also pick up a box, right? But try and match the set to the blitz decks you pick up. So for instance, if you pick up FaB or Dromai, you will want to find yourself a box of Uprising. And then you can take your blitz deck, you can take a few packs, or you can take the whole box, and you can tweak the deck. You can turn it into a classic constructed deck. You're bound to find the right hero, and you just insert a few cards into that 40 card deck to make it a 60 card deck, and now you can attempt and play classic constructed. Personally, given the mechanics and the strategy that has evolved and now goes into Flesh and Blood, I think these minute steps are probably the best way to discover Flesh and Blood, right? Yes, you have the collectible side, the chase side, of the fun side, to me at least, of opening boxes and experiencing that, or even drafting, but if you want to get into competitive play, and you've never touched the game before, if you don't really have a true understanding for it, there are helpful articles, there are helpful videos all within this welcome section. And then again, there's this IRA welcome deck that you're free to print, to play around with, to experiment, to learn about pitching, attacking, defending. After which you can take the next step up and grab yourself a few blitz decks to play around with, find the hero that you enjoy. Because again, a big aspect of this game is the diversity in how different heroes play. So finding the heroes that are right for you, right? Right off the box art here, we have Dorenthia, heavy use of their weapon, versus Reiner, who is a completely different animal, right? He looks like a beast, doesn't he? So he uses a mechanic called Intimidate to essentially allow you a easier time of landing these big, heavy hits. So the different playstyles that make up each hero are definitely worth exploring and trying. But what then? How do you actually start mastering the game, if you will? Well, the best piece of advice that I'd offer from my own experience is to simply put, draw 4, right? Just draw 4. Get any deck you want, right? It can be a blitz deck, it can be a classic constructed deck, it can be a deck you create yourself, or one that you bought. Either way, just find yourself a set of cards and draw 4, right? From here, you want to be able to evaluate your lines of play. You want to be able to understand what you're going to do with your turn, how you're going to set it up to react defensively, as well as engage in your own actions, be it using equipment, pitching cards, and then actually using attack action cards. In the case of Azalea, well, we need to stick an arrow into our arsenal and then attack with it. By and large, this is the biggest skill check of Flesh and Blood, is how to utilize your 4 cards over the span of what essentially feels like 2 turns, right? Because you draw at your end phase, meaning that the cards I use during my turn are going to be replenished. But then during my opponent's turn, the cards that I'm going to block with, right, are going to cripple me, if I don't play it correctly, for my next turn. So being able to, again, evaluate which cards you want to keep or save to block with versus what cards you're going to attack with versus setups that you might plan for in the future, as well as the all-important pitch mechanic, okay? So pitching is a big thing in Flesh and Blood because it allows you to recycle cards. Right? Not only does it generate the resources you need to play cards, but it allows you to save cards for later in the game. So there are certain cards that you might treat as high value that you don't necessarily want to use right in the starting skirmish of a battle, but you want to save to use later in your deck. So understanding what those cards are, and again, the different lines of play when it comes to the 4 cards you draw is really important, right? So just spend your time, draw 4 cards, understand their uses, their capabilities, and what you want to do. So just take the time to learn your cards, learn your hero ability, and draw 4. Now, done with that step, fine. What might you do next? Well, I'd go back to the Flesh and Blood website. Again, wonderful resource. You can scroll over to events, and you've got it right here, deck lists, right? You can find all the placing decks for all the events throughout the year, okay? So you're playing Oldhim. Well, you can find the #1 deck at the Calling Singapore, and you can use this deck list to now shape your own deck. But if you want to, again, play a specific hero, so for instance, Azalea, if I've spelled it right, hopefully, I have not, because it's an A, not an E. There we go. Right, I can look up the decks for Azalea. I can scroll down, I can see Blitz, first place. Classic Constructed, first place. I can compare it to this 5th place deck and this 3rd place deck, and I can use that to now shape the cards I want, which then would obviously involve going to the secondary market, finding specific cards you want, or even finding a box, cracking it, and trying to hope for the cards that will help you out. But altogether, right, those are the most important steps and stages for a new player. Trial the game, understand it, use the resources that LSS has offered. I, in all honesty, think that the print and play decks really go unsung. It's super easy to print them off and rope a friend into trialing the game. Okay, and then after that, make your way to your LGS, find yourself some Blitz decks, experiment with heroes, understand what heroes you like to play, and then build, by and large, off of the cards you've either gone about collecting, or you can skip straight to the big step and look at the top performing decks for your hero. Or if you're really just a competitive person, you could just find the top performing decks overall and go straight for that. But Flesh and Blood is a highly strategic game, and it is really important that you work on the fundamentals. So try it. Right, grab a deck and draw 4.